Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey, Deathray. Hopefully you guys are having a great day so far. We are back with yet another edition of Late Night with the Davey Before Dark. That's right. This is just a version of this show that we do for various reasons. Number one is that I would love for our subscribers and everyone who's across the pond out in the UK to get a nice little late night show every once in a while. And I guess if you're kind of all over the world, maybe this is nighttime or maybe it's the next day. I don't know. If you're in Australia, you might be like, might be the middle of the night for you and you're sleeping and you're like, why am I getting a notification? If you have the notification set, which you definitely should have it set. But also, sometimes we run into this just when it fits my schedule. So sometimes it's selfish. Sometimes it's about you guys. It's a little bit of everything here at the Davey Deathray channel. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and think about sharing the channel with someone who you think would dig this kind of content. We're always talking horror over here on the channel. We're covering news, whether it's TV, movies, comic books, really just anything that has to do with that entire horror sphere. So if you're a Friday the 13th fan, Halloween fan, Jaws fan, whatever the heck it is, you're going to want to hop on over here. I know Jaws fan, you're like, they haven't even had a movie since '87. But it is the gift that keeps on giving. We talk, especially this year, we've been talking Jaws quite a bit with the 50th anniversary. But I am super pumped for today's show. Our guest is somebody who, just became a friend of the channel mere months ago. Sometimes the passage of time gets very confusing for me. Not sure if it's been 2 or 3 months that our guy Hollywood Lito, Mr. Lito Velasco, has been checking out the channel, but very excited to have a chat with Lito. We've chatted a little bit just in like kind of casual video chat hangouts with a group of us that sometimes get up to late night debauchery, as it were. So excited to have Lito on to chit chat about Zach Cregger's Weapons, which is the new hot thing. I mean, it's a couple weeks old now, but it is making a shitload of money. And I wouldn't necessarily call the film divisive, but I think there are a lot of people that really loved it. And then I think there's a lot of people that liked it and wanted a little bit more from it. And Lito and I fall in that second category, to where we, at least for myself, I can say, really loved it for about 2/3 and then started to kind of question what the heck was going on after that. But we'll get into that later. Lito is an actor, a musical composer, cosplayer. If you've seen like the kind of sexy beach Michael Myers with the surfboard and everything, I feel like I was seeing pictures of Lito before I even knew who he was. So if you're familiar with that, it's been memed to all hell. Michael like hanging out with his surfboard. That's our guy Lito. Even Joe Bob Briggs showed him off on one of his Halloween specials, which is pretty awesome. And unbeknownst to me, Lito and I probably crossed paths at age 45, and I probably said something to him and he didn't say anything back because he's very true to his Michael Myers cosplay, which I'm sure he was in at age 45. When I go through my memory bank, I'm like, yeah, I must have bumped into him there. But yeah, we're going to get into all that. I'm going to say what's up to everybody hanging out in the chat. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button. If you're watching after the fact, thank you so much. I know a lot of people out here in the States, it might be the middle of your workday. But if you're catching this after the fact, hit that like button. It really helps kind of push the stream along to that second wave of viewers. And, jump on into the comments. Let us know what you think of Weapons or anything that really comes up, because I'm sure we'll weave in and out of topic. Although I do have some discussion points to try to keep us on task here. So I'm going to say what's up to you guys, and then we will get rolling here. We got Gory Tiger. What's happening, Gory? So great to see ya. There is the man himself, Hollywood Lito, one of our great channel members. How about that? We got Todd Bound in the chat. Says, hola, Death Squad. Let's get deathin'. All right, that's our guy Todd. As I like to say, Todd, bound. There you go. We got our guy Dean Renner, one of our great channel members, Death Squad mods, and YouTube channel members as well. KB Loves Movies is kicking it. Guys, KB just celebrated a birthday the other day. He's double nickels on the dime, just like the Minutemen. So he reached that 5-5. So give our guy KB some love in the chat. KB, it's how those Yankees, man. They for a while it was looking pretty grim, and they're on the uptick. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have much faith in them, anyways, at this point. You know, as a Yankees fan, you get to be. I don't know if spoiled is the word. Maybe it is. Yeah. You get to be kind of an asshole when they play mediocre baseball. We got Gene Whitacombe in the chat. What's happening, Gene? Great to see ya. We got Curtis from Colt Locker and Twisted Locker. What's happening, Kurt? Hope you're feeling better, my guy. I know you've been, not feeling so hot. I believe you guys were supposed to, or originally had planned to go live just about an hour and a half ago. Hopefully you feel better soon and you guys can get that live going. Always a pleasure to be able to catch you and not have it be, as you're waking up for work. How about that? We got Tara Brewer in the chat. Says there's huge news in my city. A horror con called Spookala, but it's changed to Scaradice. Christina Ricci and Devin Sawa are coming to my city in October for the anniversary of Casper. Well, that should be pretty awesome. I'm sure that'll be really fun. Yeah, Casper is one of those movies. I was just a little too old, I think, to hop on the Casper train. But that is super awesome for the fans. And they're both, such great performers. Devin Sawa, I'm always going to give him credit for his amazing performance in SLC Punk. One of my favorite performances in that movie for sure. Holy cow, we got my chunky Jordy, Miss Gina in the chat. Gina, so great to see you live. Gina is one of our amazing supporters from the UK. She's always checking out the replays of the streams, and I want to be able to jump in here more often when it's a good time for you guys there across the pond. So lovely to see Gina in here, and look at that. She is celebrating 12 months of channel membership. So we've got the 12-month club is, I believe it's Jamie, Cody, or no, is it Eli Cortez or Cody Snyder? Gosh, now I'm just like embarrassing myself and others. And of course, Gina there as well. And speaking of Jamie, there she is, our Death Squad Mama Mod, the OG Death Squad mod, and a great channel member. Hope you're doing well, Jamie. So good to see you. Denise Wheat, it's been a while, Denise. So awesome to see you. Hope you are doing well. Another one of our great channel members as well. And who else do we have? Just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. It looks like I've got everyone in the chat. I'm going to have a sip of water before we get into this, guys. Got my Curse of Michael Myers tiki mug there. And look at that. Denise is, I don't know. I saw Denise's chat come up and then Dean's chat come up. Look at that. 10 months. So close. And guys, I'm putting together some really fun little icons. I don't know if anyone really cares about the icons you get when you hit 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then a year. But I've got some really fun stuff. I wish I could show you now. I don't have it prepared to show you now, but I've got some really fun stuff. I might even put some of these things on shirts. I'll show you guys later on another stream. I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right. Thank you guys so much for being channel members. Thank you so much to our mods. Really appreciate the Patreon members as well. And guys, just in case you missed last night's stream, maybe you don't want to go through the whole live or replay of the live news stream, but you want to catch that Friday the 13th news where we showed off some of the brand new set photos from Friday the 13th archivist on Instagram. There is a clipped out video on the page, so you can check that out there as well if you want to see that. And we got Amanda in the house. What's happening, Amanda? Boom. Excellent. Hey, not a pretty good crowd here for middle of the day out here. Lito and I are both on West Coast time, so it's just before 12:30 p.m. I stayed up way too late working on stuff for the channel, guys. I got to stop staying up until it's light outside. That's something I have to work out into my schedule. And we've got Brett from Good Real Hunting jumping in to give a quick hello, one of our great channel members and mods as well. Okay, guys, are you ready to talk some weapons? Now, I'll give you guys, there'll just be one warning here. It's going to be spoiler heavy. Okay. So, I mean, that should go without saying. If you saw the thumbnail, then you should kind of know what we're getting into. So, there won't be any other warnings as far as spoilers go. We are going to freely talk about this movie as if you've seen it. It's been a couple weeks. So, hopefully, if you want to see it, you already have. And if you're hanging out with us right now, then maybe you don't care about spoilers. How about that? What's happening, Eli? Great to see you, bud. One of our great channel members and mods as well, and a very awesome supporter of the community. But yeah, guys, without any further ado, let's go ahead and put our virtual hands together in the chat for our guy, Lito Velasco. What's happening, Lito? How are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you great. I can even turn down the music a little bit if that helps everybody and or helps you. How about that?
I'm good. I just wanted to make sure they're actually working now.
Yes, they are. They are for sure. Yeah, man, welcome on to the program. It's great to have you on. I know we're making plans for you to come on and have some deep dive A Nightmare on Elm Street talk because you're a massive fan of that franchise. So I'm glad that we're able to have you on, you know, just get a little bit of that chemistry going here to talk about a movie that a lot of people are really jazzed on. And I know you and I are both, we just have some misgivings. I know it's interesting in today's day and age, even outside of stuff like politics or social issues, the way people talk about movies and art, it's almost, the discourse is even kind of bad there. You know, it's all like, if you have one negative thing to say about a movie, it means you hated it or something like that. So, you know, just so like I think I gave this movie like a 3.5 or something out of 5, but it basically lost a star rating for me. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself though. Before we jump into the movie talk, why don't you tell the folks here that are watching, you know, just a little bit about what got you into, you know, what made you a fan initially of, you know, of movies and film, show business in general, and then what got you involved as far as, you know, being an actor and a composer and cosplaying and all of that.
Okay, so I'll try to keep it brief. I've always loved going into movies. I kind of refer to it as my temple. When I was a kid, I was a very small kid. I was a runt and I was kind of a misfit. I didn't really fit in with the other kids, so I got bullied a shit ton. And I came from a fairly dysfunctional household as well, so there wasn't much respite for me. And I'm talking about all this freely because I love that on your channel you talk about these things freely, because I think it's very important that people are honest about who they are and their background and all that. So going to the movies for me was always what a lot of people view it as an escape. And I am old enough that I saw a lot of the classics in theaters, including the first Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. And when I saw those two movies, I just kind of fell in love with film. And I remember thinking at that age, I was like, I'd love to be part of this when I get older. And then I saw the NBC premiere of Halloween, and that just changed my life. My babysitter let us watch it, which I'm not sure she should have, but it rocked my world. I mean, it's my favorite movie of all time. And I didn't get much sleep that night because after the movie ended, they cut to a preview of Halloween 2. So I remember thinking, oh my God, he's alive and I'm fucked. Like, I'm gonna die in my sleep. So it just kind of hooked me on that feeling of horror. And so I started seeking out as much as I could. Thank you. Appreciate that, Denise. And so I remember seeing Nightmare on Elm Street, renting that, and that was another movie that just kind of blew my mind. I remember my uncle owned a video store growing up, so he had a lot of, you know, the classic horror films on his shelf in his home because he would buy copies for himself. And one night we were over there and he's like, let's watch a double header. My dad and my sister and I watched Halloween 2 and Phantasm. And that was another sleepless night. Even though I loved it, but I couldn't get enough of that feeling, you know? So I I've been acting since I was 6, mostly musical theater at that age. And then I got into music performance, and I went to high school for music performance. I went to college at Juilliard in Indiana University for music performance, and I also studied acting there. And
Nice.
I pursued the classical world. Thank you. I pursued the classical world pretty intensely and seriously for many years. Even post college, I was playing with a lot of orchestras in Indiana and Kentucky, but I just got kind of burnt out on it. And I had this feeling that it really wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. Even though I loved doing it, it didn't speak to me the way films and acting spoke to me. So I was married at the time, and I'd only been married for a few years. And I told my wife, I said, look, if I don't give this a shot, at least try, I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. So I think I need to go to California and just try this. In retrospect, I wish I'd started in Chicago, a little bit of a smaller market, built myself up. Sure. But she gave me her blessing. I went to LA. I got an agent within the first 2 weeks, thank God. And then I just started working. And then she joined me out here the year afterwards. And then I just kind of, honestly, it was timing and luck, as a lot of this business is. I ended up meeting people. Yeah, I ended up meeting people that were working on documentaries about horror. I met them at horror conventions. And then they invited me to work with them on stuff like Never Sleep Again and Scream, the Inside Story, and More Brains, the Return of the Living Dead documentary. And it just kind of kept steamrolling for there. One of the producers, and he was the writer of the Elm Street documentary, he wrote like a book this thick, a hardcover book about Elm Street. And he was like, would you like to help me create this book? And I was just like, I mean, you don't have to ask twice. So I jumped on board that. I jumped on board Fredheads because, they wanted to interview me because of my work on the documentary, and they wanted me to provide music. I've scored a bunch of fan films about Nightmare on Elm Street, and I appeared in the Halloween 2 commercial, as you know, as Michael Myers, and I also scored it, which was a dream come true and kind of one of those pinch me moments. I got to, I got to play a slasher killer in All Through the House, which I don't know if anybody's seen that, but if you haven't, please check it out. It's a B C budget level slasher film, but it's a lot of fun, and I think my performance is, pretty good.
And it's a Christmas themed horror film. So if you're a fan of Christmas themed horror films, I know we've gotten a few more within the last few years, but it seems to be just a little corner of the subgenre that people they want more of, so check it out. And the great thing about it is it comes back every year. That's the best part about being in a holiday themed horror film. So did that. I scored the Hellraiser documentary. I scored the Fright Night documentary. All of this stuff just basically came from people seeing other things or hearing other things and then reaching out to me. And of course I try to book my own stuff. It's a kind of a slow time right now in Hollywood, so it hasn't been easy, but I'm plugging ahead just because, why not? And I think I mentioned it in another stream. I scored a stop motion film that was animated by the guy that did the animation for Never Sleep Again, the stop motion for Never Sleep Again. And that's gotten a shit ton of accolades, which I'm always embarrassed to say that, but it's gotten me a few awards for the score, and it's actually now eligible for an Oscar. So our fingers are crossed. Is that the Lebet?
Yes.
I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't speak any language other than English and a little bit of Spanish. So.
that was spot on. So there's that, and then I'm working on other things on the side that are coming up, and there's always something going on, so that's great. My story in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think it's just really cool for the folks that are, maybe they know you a little bit or they're familiar with you a little bit. I know you do have a YouTube channel as well. So guys, if you don't already subscribe to Hollywood Lito on YouTube, then go on over there. Now it seems like with the YouTube, are you not as active as you once were? Is that something that's you're just kind of focusing on other stuff right now?
Yeah, so the YouTube was a thing that I was doing with mostly my wife, because we would react to trailers and episodes of certain shows because I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Hmm.
And I will readily admit I get giddy and I get teary at Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all that stuff from that era because it's what made me who I am today. It's why I'm in
Sure.
Hollywood.
Yeah, there's an
So
emotional connection.
Oh, for sure, and of course, my man is Harrison Ford. So anything that he's in, I'm just like, I bow down to him and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So
There
yeah,
you
so we
go.
were doing a lot of reaction videos, but the audience started getting very kind of gross in terms of the way that they were responding to the videos with my wife. I won't
Uh,
specify why, but if you see any of our videos, you'll probably be able to figure it out. So I
it's
just
interesting
kind of
because having a lady brings, I think, helps bring viewership, but then you're gonna bring some weirdos. So you get those hits and those views you want, but then also it's somebody that just I guess they don't go out in the world and interact with like real people to know, like, what's appropriate, or just that, there are beautiful people everywhere. You don't need to be a weirdo and a creep about it.
Yeah. So that's why we pretty much stopped. I've just started doing a lot of out of the theater reactions, honestly, inspired by you because
Oh,
I
thanks,
watched a
man.
lot of your. Of course, I watched a lot of your out of the theater reactions, and I was like, I could do that, and I could do that on my own, and I could keep it under 3 minutes and keep creating content for the channel. So there's
Yeah.
that, and then I always tell people if they want to see more stuff and they want to see more of what's happening now, go to litovelasco.com because I update that a lot more frequently than I do the YouTube channel, and it has stuff like you can see Labette on there right now. I'm going to put up the short film that my wife and I helped produce, and I scored and co-edited and acted. We both acted in it last year. It's a short slasher film, so that will be up on that site eventually. It's called Final Girls Bloodbath. So check that out, please, folks. I would be very grateful if you would. And leave some
Heck yeah.
kind of feedback because I love getting messages there and responding to people and interacting.
Yeah, I think that's the fun thing, is just, knowing how people are responding when you put something out there. So yeah, guys, I shared the links for Lito's YouTube if you want to check out some of those older reaction videos. I also dropped the litovelasco.com. For anyone that's watching after the fact, those links will be pinned in the description, or just down in the description, so you can check those out there. And yeah, I think it's really cool for people, especially because, even though when you're doing the cosplay, you're usually wearing a mask. When you're doing the composing, it's not a camera facing role. So I just think it's cool for people to really get an idea of, of who the man Lito Velasco is. And especially just to give a little background before we jump into the discussion here, because I'm coming at it like I have performance experience from playing music, writing music since I was 13, and playing in punk rock bands and stuff, and doing just little tiny tours, nothing ever substantial. But that's the limit of my show business and performance experience. But I'm just a massive movie fan. It's just been something I've always connected with since I was a kid. So, getting into weapons as a preamble into talking about this film, what did you think of Barbarian, of Zach Cregger's debut feature film?
So that movie, I remember my wife loves horror too, so we watch a lot of horror movies together. And I remember, if I recall correctly, it involves kind of an Airbnb scenario in the beginning, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's like the
Yeah.
setup. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got about, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes into it, and she paused it and she looked at me and she said, "What fucking woman in their right mind in this day and age is going to agree
Yeah.
to any of the shit that this girl is agreeing to?" And we haven't even
Oh
gotten
yeah.
into the insanity. And like, I was kind of nodding, like, yeah, like I see. My problem is I'm willing to give horror films a pass to a degree, but when they
Sure.
keep relying on tropes and cliches and things like that to advance the plot, you very quickly lose me because in this day and age, there's just no excuse for it. And we've seen films that don't do that
Yeah.
succeed without relying on those crutches. So I'm really hard
Yeah.
on any film that does that, honestly. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of took it down a peg already. And then I enjoyed a lot of the creepiness and the creature and just a lot of the like trapped underneath and like drink this milk and just all of that. Like, it was effective, but even in the third act, there was stuff that was like, why are you running to the top of the thing? Or why are you doing this?
Sure.
Or what, like, so,
yeah.
I liked it, but
yeah, it was, there were definitely some inconsistencies. I think the best thing that Barbarian did is at that, like, going from the second act to the third act is going back into the past and showing like what really happened and how this creature was created and just all the Richard Brake kind of stuff that we got. I thought that was the best part of the movie ultimately. But yeah, it was a little, I was sitting there thinking, I mean, even not even just for the woman, for the lead woman, but even with Bill Skarsgård's character, I'm like, why would you walk down that hallway and check this stuff out? Like once you find like the kill room, the torture room, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm running away. And my curiosity has the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up and I'm fucking out of here because this R room, this hard R room is not really my vibe. So it doesn't look like anything friendly took place in this room. Like, even Jigsaw would run away. So, okay. So we've established that with Barbarian. I did enjoy the film, but I do think as well, like he fell into some similar things here with Weapons in the third act specifically. But I do think that Weapons overall is a way more palatable film and definitely something that moves more into the mainstream as far as the appeal and the accessibility goes. Not obviously you're bringing in Julia Garner and Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin's been a top tier actor since Goonies or before. I mean, that's the first time I've ever seen him. But Julia Garner is one of these performers that's like quickly becoming my favorite actress because she's got this unique look. And even when she's in a movie like Wolfman that I didn't love, I thought she was fantastic. So I'm like, man, if you can be great in a C grade movie, then hell yeah. So yeah, with Weapons, I guess, let's talk a little bit about the positives, and then I'll let you kind of take the reins here. Just talk about how you were feeling and what you enjoyed about the movie, and then when that started to turn and what it was specifically that started to kind of, spin the wheels around in your head as you're watching the film.
So I really loved, I would say, the craftsmanship on display, if I could call it craftsmanship. Like, I thought that the film, in terms of cinematography and editing and pacing and acting and direction, and I thought all of that was really, really, really well done. Like I was watching it thinking, this movie is creeping the shit out of me, but man, is it well made. Like, it just looks good, and the performances are great, and like I'm feeling the tension and the way, where they're placing the camera and everything was kind of amping all that up for me. I love the fact that they did the different stories, because we got to see things from the different perspectives again, which I think it's such an effective narrative tool if it's done right. And I think in this film, it was largely done right. The part where it started to lose me, and it's very early on where I kind of went like this again, was when Julia Garner goes home and she's been drinking I don't even think she started drinking at that point. There's the doorbell, and then there's a pounding on the door.
Sure.
And then at one point she goes out really pissed off with a thing of mace, but she leaves the door wide open behind her, and the camera deliberately, moves away from the door because, of course, they want us to they're trying to misguide us to think like, oh my God, she's going to go back in and something really horrible is going to happen. I don't have a problem with using that kind of trope. My problem is the film did such a good job of establishing realism in terms of this scenario being real and people's reactions to the scenario and people's emotions and people's dealing with the grief and the trauma, that immediately pulled me out, because I was like, yes, she's in denial. Yes, she's masking with alcohol, because in many ways, to me, the film was about the different types of coping with grief. like, because
Yeah.
there were different,
Oh yeah.
Josh Brolin is anger, the one parent where he's like, do you mind if I see the camera? It was kind of like this kind of denial, because the woman's like, I don't even want to look at it or face it.
Yeah.
Julia Garner's dealing with it through drinking. There's a lot of different like ways of coping in that film, but if she was really that worried about her safety, I just don't believe that she's going to do some of the things that she did early on in the film. I gave it a pass. I was like, okay, I'll go with it because I'm really liking the film so far.
Yeah.
Where it started to lose me in the third act was once it started really explaining how much time had passed, what was necessary to keep up this illusion, what the kid had to do to keep up this illusion, what the aunt was doing, what the school supervisor was involved in. Like, all of that stuff was just like my wife looked at me at one point. We went to dinner after the film when we were, of course, dissecting the film in the car. And she turns to me and she's like, did the husband and wife not fucking have jobs? Like, they're missing for like weeks and nobody gives a shit. Like, their bosses don't go to their house to inquire. Their neighbors don't notice that they haven't been out of the house for a while, that there's newspaper on the windows, that the mail's piling, the mailman doesn't notice that the mail's piling. Like, there were all these things that, like, okay, maybe the aunt brought the mail in and I'm thinking too much about it, but like, there's too much time passed.
Yeah, and the newspapers, there were a shitload of them in the driveway. That's what made James think, okay, I can break into this house. It's like, that's the classic thing that, that crooks, it's one of those stereotypical things that thieves look out for. Like, does it look like you're on vacation or not home? Can we break in? So yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then did you notice?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask, because we talked about this at dinner, and I'm not sure if I'm remembering it correctly. At one point, Josh Brolin puts the map on the table and he draws the red lines and they kind of intersect at this one point.
Yeah.
So all the kids ran in a straight line from whichever direction they supposedly came in to these points, supposedly, right? They intersect here, but when Julia Garner points to the house that they were in, they're like 2 blocks away.
Off.
And I'm like,
yeah.
So why didn't you just make the house in the middle of the thing? And when they show the kids coming for the house, they're under a street light and you can literally see them making a right turn to go to the house. And I'm like, wait a second.
So they didn't, yeah.
So
not all of them ran straight. And,
yeah.
And he only gets, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that's very nitpicky, but like, explain it better or something. I don't know. It just, stuff like that was like.
Yeah. He only gets the sample size of like 2 or 3 kids, right? For his postulation. That's another thing too, is it's just like a couple kids. Like this is where they ran. And then, so they are just sort of assumed. I was like, oh, when they showed the tower or whatever, I was like, oh my God, are we going to get like a Halloween Ends sort of radio tower thing here? Like, what is going on? Yeah, I think man, the more I think about it too, and I know you had this issue. Yeah, I think the big thing that is probably easy for a lot of people, it's easy for them to not think about as they're watching the movie the first time, because the movie is pretty gripping with the performances and everything. It does seem like the police, after about a week of like, they did their interviews and stuff, and then they're just sort of like, well, we don't know. Like, we just hope we find the kids at some point. And it doesn't seem like they continue to apply pressure. And the aunt is like suspicious as all get out. And there's no way she could turn all of the cops into drones, one by one. At some point they would be like, well, look, we're going to converge on this house and she can't do something about all of us. It's one thing to have your nephew steal name tags from a classroom. It's another thing to like compromise the entire police force. But it doesn't seem like they're very concerned or aware. And I think the big thing for me too was the Alex section of this. Like, once we see everyone's story, and then when we get to Alex's, it was like they just slowly started letting air out of the balloon of my excitement for the film. And the more I spent time with Alex and Gladys, less plausible it seemed, the less scary Gladys seemed to me, because I wanted that mystery to be there. And yeah, I was just sort of like, it's falling back. And you were talking about tropes earlier with leaving the door open and people exposing themselves. That the old hag trope is like, it's so friggin' tired. And I'm not coming at it from a it's disrespectful to women kind of thing, because I think any trope or trend, like we just need time for it to rest, and you can bring it back. It can be peppered in within the genre, and it can feel fresh or new or just different again. But man, it's a big part of this movie. And even in Barbarian, even though the old hag is kind of a victim herself, he did the same thing in Barbarian. So he's going back to, oh, look at this gross wrinkled woman. And I just think it's sort of a layup. It's just like, he's not, it doesn't seem like you're really, it's like a J.J. Abrams kind of thing, where it's like, man, you're really good at setting up this mystery. You just do not know. Like, and I don't know if you're a story writer or anything like that, Lito, but it's like, come up with your end first and go reverse from the end. Like, figure out, like write the big impact. Don't write this amazing setup and be like, oh, and I guess like at the end, I don't know, like it's a witch, because the whole thing with this movie, and it's so funny. I noticed a lot of people that were lukewarm on Longlegs and the way that Longlegs rounded out. Which, I mean, I really love that movie. I don't think any movie's really perfect, but I liked the level of ambiguity mixed with the style and cinematography and visual storytelling in Longlegs just really happened to resonate with me. And I liked the way they kind of gave us a supernatural feel, but they didn't explain every little thing. And I feel like the people that didn't like Longlegs as much really enjoyed Weapons. And for me, it was sort of like Weapons showed too much and told too much at the end of the story for me to feel like there was something. There wasn't any level of unease for me by the end of the movie. I was sort of like, okay, I'm ready for it to be over. Let's go.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that, because that's something that, again, the more we discussed the third act and the more we asked these questions, I found the more easily the rug unraveled. Like, because it's like he made a point to show so many details of what transpired from the moment the aunt got there to the moment they, tore her head in half. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, we don't need you to explain every fucking thing that really, in essence, doesn't fucking matter. Like, spending time showing him looking at the erasers and the backpack things, and then not even paying it off. Oh, he'll just take the things from the buckets. Okay, that's fine. I buy that.
Yeah.
But that teacher is in that room every day, all year long. And you're telling me she and the cops didn't notice that the names weren't on those buckets, even though they're probably on every bucket in every other classroom? Like, she and the cops are the most unobservant people ever then. And if this kid, Alex, is the only one left from his class, I feel like people would be very cognizant of what this Alex kid is doing, no matter where he goes, because they would know his space. So you're telling me that this kid was able to walk home every day, walk to the 7-Eleven store and buy soup every day. There's cameras in convenience stores and grocery stores.
Yeah.
Nobody noticed this kid by himself doing
all this
weird shit. Yeah. After hearing that his dad suffered a stroke. Wouldn't the neighbors know about the stroke? Wouldn't his coworkers, wouldn't his boss, wouldn't the mail? Like, in a small town where people are that aware of everything that's going on to that degree that they established in the film, no one would just be like, oh, I guess he just had a stroke. Oh, well, people be coming by. We heard he had a stroke. What's going on? Like, we didn't hear about this. Is he okay? Do you guys need anything? The more he took an effort to explain, the more I was like, you fucked up. And that's the problem with a lot of twist endings, is I feel like writers, they come up with this twist and they're like, yeah, twist. But they don't take the time to revise the script enough times to explain all of these little details. And I know I keep going back to it, and I know I say it almost every time I'm chatting in your movie or on your channel, but that's one of the reasons why I think Scream 5 and 6 don't hold up, is because the twists were never like, they didn't cover their tracks. They painted themselves
Yeah.
into a corner. And that's what this film does. It paints itself into a corner, and it expects the audience to not notice 6 trails of footprints walking through the middle of the room. And maybe some people will forgive it, but I can't forgive that, because there have been enough horror movies that have shown us that you don't need to do that in order to be an effective horror movie. And if you do, revise your script.
Yeah, you got to go through and make sure that it all makes. Yeah, you got to go back over and give it a good once over once you've got that end. And I thought we could respond to a couple comments here. So Aaron, I'm only comparing the old hag thing. I do think they're very different movies. I'm just comparing the fact that in the third act, the explanation that we get, or the monster that we get, is an old wrinkled lady, and I just think it's like you're not even really trying at that point. And then to piggyback off of that, because I think he brings it up, if you come up with a witch story, you don't ditch it just because there have been recent movies featuring witches. I have no problem with the witch. That's not the complaint. Isn't that she's a witch? It's that, again, he's relied on this thing twice in a row. So get ready for an old witch to be in his Resident Evil movie, because he's already said he doesn't care about the games for some reason. Like, can't we just get a Resident Evil movie that's like the friggin' games? But anyways, the witch stuff doesn't really bother me. It really is the way that the story is told, and that it's that simple. I was like, I wanted something a little meatier. I went into Weapons thinking the mystery was going to be something deeper than the simplicity of a witch. I don't know. What did you think? Like, Lito, before going into the movie, what did you anticipate that it would be that simple, that it would really just be like, oh, I have one of your objects and I snap this twig? Because to me, that just seems like very simple. Like, that's like Brothers Grimm kind of, like, you know, these stories are like thousands of years old or hundreds of years old at this point. What did you anticipate going in as far as like what the explanation might be or whatever?
Well, honestly, I had ideas as the film was going along, and I thought maybe it was some sort of technological or environmental, like, something that was going on in the town. It's somebody just mentioned in the comments, they said, I don't know, it seemed like the town was weird in the first place, so maybe people didn't get inquisitive about the dad having a stroke. I understand that. Like, yeah, what was going on in the town was a little odd, but I feel like that's the effect of PTSD on the entire town. You can't tell me that that's how the town was from the start. Like, from the start, it just seems like normal middle America.
Gotcha.
And the kid in the beginning is even like, hey, one night this crazy thing happened and nothing was the same ever since. It's like it broke the town. So I don't buy that explanation that it's Twin Peaks and that's why, you know, no one would notice. And even if people wouldn't inquire, the police would inquire. That's their fucking job. They're detectives. They would write down, Dad had stroke. Seems kind of weird. We might want to look into that.
I'm right there with you on that one too. And I saw that Aaron had put something earlier just about that. Yeah, the police can kind of be like that. But I do think after 2 months, I think the point that you made, Lito, was a big one. Like the name tags being taken off all the baskets. She would have noticed that. Also, the town is almost like they're like Springfieldians as far as the way they're treating the teacher, the way they treat Justine. Or like Corey Cunningham. She's like getting like, people are like talking shit and like, you know, basically like she can't even walk to her car safely after the PTA meeting. Yet no one's going to that kid Alex's house. Like there's not a group of people outside of that house being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we want answers. We've not seen these people. This kid's walking around alone. Like Child Protective Services would have been like, how come all of our employees keep on going to that house and going missing? Because it was very convenient that, you know, they made sense in the movie that Gladys was able to get the upper hand on the few people that we saw, but they also conveniently left out the fact that there would be dozens of people that would be trying to interrupt what Gladys was trying to do. Like there would have been dozens of people, the police officers and regular citizens as well. And it is a very simple, like, I get the idea that maybe Gladys is hundreds of years old. It's just this thing that she has to do every so often, is she has to suck the life force from people. They don't explain that. I'll give them points for not explaining every little thing about Gladys, but I do think some of the mystery was sort of taken away. It's like explaining why Michael Myers is the way he is. Like, I don't think it's necessary for the point to be made. And ultimately, in that last act, we see her a lot. Really quick too. This moment, this was a really odd moment. KB says, we did a podcast on this topic last night. Did you get the assault rifle Josh Brolin saw? That was such a weird, what the fuck does this mean? And it had no payoff. It had no meaning. I'm guessing it was just some part of his dream that worked in there. Although you understand by the end of the movie what the title weapons means, but why would he have an inclination to make this sort of connection and literally see this CG assault rifle, which is probably the worst looking thing in the movie. It looks like a cartoon. It almost looks like when you play a video game like Fortnite or something and they have the guns that are just like floating above ground and you have to go grab it. And maybe it's supposed to look like that because this movie did have comedic moments and odd moments in it. But yeah, what did you think of the assault rifle over the home? Like, what the hell was that?
Well, see, and that was one of those things where when I saw it, and then he goes back in the house and sees a kid laying in the bed and staring at him, and then it turns into the old lady's face for just a flash.
Yeah.
When I saw the rifle and then it goes into the house and the kid, I started thinking, oh, maybe weapons has a dual meaning. Maybe these kids have become like, I don't know, possessed by something on the internet or possessed by something in the zeitgeist, and they're going to be doing something like this. So it's not adults and it's a bunch of kids running around town clipping people from the woods, or like, because of course I'm thinking and theorizing as I'm watching it and absorbing everything. And then, like you said, it's like, who cares? And it's like, but I care because it was kind of a big deal and you focused on it for like 30 seconds. I mean, like, okay.
Yeah. Secret government program. That's kind of what I was thinking the first 2/3 of the movie. I was like, oh, is this like they were, part of some hypnotic thing where they're like called into action, sort of like a, like Born Identity kind of thing, where it's just like something wakes up and is awoken within all these children. And that could have been hokey as well. Like, it's it's all about how you handle it. But yeah, I definitely wasn't thinking it's a witch. Burn it. It's just like, but Amy Madigan did a really good job with what she had. And I will say this too, like you were talking, the jump scare in the bed, when Julia Garner has her nightmare and she sees Gladys on the ceiling, and then even the moment that James sees her in the woods, like she was way scarier. Like I just got goosebumps thinking about her in the woods. And that is a thing too for me, and maybe that's just my personal experience with the film. I don't expect that everyone's gonna have the same like feelings and experiences as I do, but I was like, man, she was really scary and effective until she became a main character, and I was like, oh
yeah. Yeah, it demystifies it. It brings the character into the light too much. And there's another comment that I wanted, if it's cool for us to comment on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So somebody said, the Daily Ghost says, not delivering on your expectations is not a basis for critique. So okay, like that's fair. But I also want to make sure that I'm being clear that that's not my critique. Like I wasn't hard on the film because it didn't deliver, kids programmed by the government or possessed by a website or, any of that stuff. My problem is just that the explanation, the reason just had too many loose threads. It's like when they're in the truck, Josh Brolin and Julia Garner, and they're looking at the house. The cops are here. What do you think that means? Oh, I don't know. Cops. Maybe they're checking out the house. And the guy comes out, habba-da-habba-da-hoo. Habba-da-habba-da-hoo. And it's like, why would you follow that guy into the... Again, like, these movies... That movie made me feel like these people had never seen a horror film. A scary, old, classic ghost story. A zombie. Like... Don't do that. Like, these people live in the real world. You're taking great pains to remind us that this is based in reality. HIV, hepatitis needle scare, cell phones, parents grieving, someone coping with that. All of this stuff is very real. Okay, but if you're going to do that, don't say, yeah, but the characters are complete cartoon cliches of human beings that don't think about anything and never take into consideration their own safety. They're just going to do what weird zombie cop tells them to do because it's zombie cop. Like, I don't feel after what they've experienced that they're going to make that choice. I feel like he's going to be like, look, we just survived some weird shit at the gas station. Let's just go get more fucking cops and come back to the house.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, she could have just sent both of her drones out there to grab them. Like, she sent the cop out to grab James. So they didn't even need to bring them into the house to do what they wanted, because she just wanted those people either dead or turned into drones. So they didn't need to try to entice them to bring them in. They could have just ran out and grabbed them. Because she is very trustworthy of her drones with the magic she has set up. And my critique is totally outside of the expectations. So I've already given my critique on the film. The expectations are their own thing, and I totally get that. So but you know, the critique is more about the way that the story was handled once they go into Alex's vignette, I suppose, or his side of the story. So the critique is all about on the storytelling from that point. But now, Lito, you're bringing up all these other points too that during the time of the film that I actually enjoyed that are very, very valid. And I'll watch the movie again, you know, because I just want to see what the experience is like, knowing how it all shakes out, and having thought about this stuff. I think it's worth watching again to see how it holds up, because I think that's a big thing too with these kinds of movies. You can walk away with rose-colored glasses and think it was great, and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, I don't know. But it can also go the other way too. But yeah, you're blowing up some pretty big holes here. I think go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
No, go ahead. No, do it. Do it. You're the guest.
So that's do it now. So Daily Ghost, that's something I want to make sure that I clear up as well. Yeah. I don't have a problem with loose threads. I don't have a problem with drawing my own conclusions. I don't have a problem with trying to connect the dots and fill in the gaps and stuff like that. I have no issues with that whatsoever. But when there are so fucking many of them in the third act that they feel like they're holding up the house, that they feel like every pole that's holding up this house is relying on stupidity or illogical choices, or like, we just won't explain it. I have a problem with that. I'm not saying the guy's not a good filmmaker and he's not a good writer. He's clearly a great filmmaker. He clearly has great ideas. He writes better scripts than I probably ever will. But you can't do all those things and just be like, I'm just going to kind of phone in the logic of the third act and completely blow up the suspension of disbelief. Yeah. There are going to be people in the audience that are going to ask these questions. I'm not the only one. And honestly, I really wish that more horror fans would do this, because I expect better in 2025 from scripts and horror. I'm not saying that I judge every film this way. I don't. Like, some films I'm easier on because I'm like, look, it's all through the house. Like, I know that we have some cliches and some tropes. It's a slasher film. People are gonna do dumb shit. Like, that's expected. Yeah. But this film started on such a cerebral, realistic level that it felt like bleh by the third act. And I just can't. I'm not saying I'll never watch the film again or I won't recommend it, but I will say that it just felt like, really, could you try a little harder? Instead of having cop do this and then follow him in the house, like you said, Davey, why doesn't she just do something to them and make them, and start going into the house? I mean, we bought into every other thing that's happened, supposedly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And they could have just, once they're in the house and they cross the line of salt or whatever that powder is, and then the drones just go nuts anyways. It's like, okay, so you could have just like had them run out of the house like you did with Benedict Wong, and they just grab them and pull them in. So like you're saying, that whole thing of him doing that weird, like, come on in, and having no personality at all. It's one of those things that doesn't quite jive. Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast and Mr. Sandsman says, this film is a huge success story and it's doing a lot of good for the industry. Profitable original content is rare these days, so let's give it credit. Movies like this are keeping theaters alive. Yeah, Darren, you must have, if you go back to the beginning of the discussion, for sure. Yeah, we talk about what we liked about the movie. I don't know what star rating you gave it, Lito, but I give it a 3.5, whereas it probably could have been a 4.5 if it stuck the landing. So, and the thing too, Darren, is like I do believe in, like, I'm happy that it's successful. I love original ideas doing what they're doing, especially this year. We've had quite a few, and they've been doing better than movies like Superman and the Fantastic Four. At least, like, relatively speaking, they've been doing better. So it's not about that. It's more so about just honestly critiquing and looking at even the things that we love and like. You know, even if I love a movie, I'm going to be fair about what didn't work for me, for sure. So it's not about, like, I'm not trying to knock anyone down or anything like that. I think that the first 2/3 of this movie, I was like so into it and it was really working for me. And then it just kind of, like, you know, ran up to the curb and tripped and fell right on its face, unfortunately. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not trying to, I don't know. I guess it's kind of funny, Lito, because it kind of, that comment in the chat kind of speaks to what we were talking about at the beginning, where it's like, it is tough to criticize something and have people not think that you're trying to trash on it. So definitely not trying to trash on Weapons. Yeah. It just didn't quite, it just didn't land as much as well as I wanted it to, for sure. But that's my own opinion. And I'm nobody.
And honestly, like, I want to be clear on that as well. And I also want to be clear for Cody, who says the film was great. I don't care what any of you guys say, damn it, or whatever he said, something like that. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to say that everyone should hate on this film. I love the fact that this film is close to $100 million. Like, I love that. Yeah. It's an original idea that succeeds for the most part. I love that it's a film that I could give 3.5 out of 5 stars to, the same way you did, because there's enough good stuff in this movie that I was riveted. Like Josh Brolin and Julia Gardner, their performances alone were like master classes in acting. It was as an actor, I was just like, my God, they're so fucking commanding. Like, he is owning every little tick in his face and every little, you know, glare and smirk, and like, it's just, he's so good. So I'm not trying to, like, thrash it. I'm just pointing out why it didn't stick the superhero landing for me. It just it fell short, and that's not saying that it's a bad film.
Yeah, I'm gonna be protective of those 4 to 4.5 stars when I'm, like, critiquing a movie. So I'm the whole idea of, like, this is sort of, you know, you were talking about Star Wars and all that stuff, and the whole idea of, like, well, we should just be happy that we get something. Like, not really. We're the ones paying for the product. They're the ones that are, you know, working within this very, you know, I think that you could probably speak to this more than I even could, that the show business, you know, Hollywood it's a very tight group. It's difficult to get in there and create something on the level of something like Weapons. And then it's probably even, you know, getting into Superman's got to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that James Gunn started out at Troma and now he's making Superman. It's mind blowing, but also it's a very tight knit group. It's tough to break into. We don't have to just, like, drop to our knees and do the deed just because they're giving us something. So I think that's, like, an important thing to remember too. And so, I'm going to be precious about the 4 to 4.5 stars. And, you know, I was this way about Bring Her Back. Like, Bring Her Back is technically a beautiful film. It's shot so well. The sound design's amazing. The music was great. The performances were great. But it's another movie that just sort of, like, about an hour into it, I was like, I'm running out of reasons to care. And that's, and, like, whereas I really love Talk to Me. So yeah, it's all, you know, it's just opinion. And, you know, I think that we're not trying to make anybody not want to see Weapons. But Brett says it's a must see. I think so. I think if you're a horror fan, like, I would say, see it for yourself. And I think one of the things that we can all take away from this is, regardless if people are saying this movie is great, if they're saying it's mid, if they're saying it's terrible, don't let anyone's opinion make you like not want to see a movie that you're interested in. Like, go and see it for yourself, develop your own opinion, join the conversation if you've got something to say. And I think more importantly, regardless of whether you like something, love it, or hate it, to be able just to articulate why. I think that's the big thing. A lot of people just they think and they speak in 140 characters, and even though there's the opportunity to say so much more than that, and they think that everything's a mic drop instead of just actually diving into the whys. So and hey, I forgot to mention, Darren is a YouTube channel member. Thank you so much, Darren. One of our new channel members. So always appreciate seeing you jump in. That's another reason why we do these streams at this time, is get those UK folks jumping in. And then our guy Coy, who's a YouTube channel member as well, is like, I'd do anything to be a part of this this discussion. I have so much to say. Well, I have the feeling Weapons, I don't know, what do you think, Lito? Do you think Weapons is going to be a movie that people are going to talk about for quite some time?
I think it speaks to the strength of the film, the strength of the concept, the strength of the execution, the strength of the craftsmanship, which I mentioned kind of at the top, on display in this film, that it's opening these cans of worms, that people in the chat are defending it as strongly as they are. That Cody's like, hey, fuck you guys, even though he didn't say that, but like that, that he's saying like, I love it, I don't care what anybody says. Davey, one of the things I loved about you when we first started interacting was that you were like, look, I love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and I can explain why, and I can defend my position, and I can go to bat for Halloween Ends, and like, I love that films can do that. And I will be the first person to admit, I have a Sam Raimi Spider-Man painting on the wall. I fucking love Spider-Man 3. That movie, compared to the first two, is kind of hot garbage, but I love it, and I can explain to you why I love it. You hit that nail on the head too. And last night you were part of a discussion that talked about this topic, and I think it's a very, very problematic way of engaging in our society, that our discourse has devolved to this point where you either fucking love something to the point where you want to fuck it, or you hate something to the point that, you want to burn it alive. And I'm just like, guys, like, things can exist in the middle. Things can be mediocre. We can have a civil discussion. I can talk to you about why I don't like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and you love it. I can tell you why I love Spider-Man 3 and Batman and Robin and these films that, like, everyone are like, ugh, like, sure, garbage script. Yeah. But these films are beautiful to look at. They're beautiful to listen to. Like, I can take those things out of this film. Same thing with Weapons. I take so much good out of it. I'm just not going to give it a free pass. I just can't do that, because because it's original horror, as you said, I'm not going to just be like, okay, it's original, so it's cool. Keep being original. No. Yeah.
I think the dicey thing when you jump into any sort of critique, whether or not it's something you do, on YouTube and you're making videos, or just people that are on like Twitter that, they have a large presence there and they give their thoughts on these films there. I think that if you just like kind of fall in line and talk nice about everything, then it's like, how can we really even trust that you're being truthful? And then on the flip side, there's all like the doom tubers out there that it's like they seemingly, I'm not going to name any of these channels, but I'm sure you guys know who they are because they have millions of followers. It seems like they make it their prerogative they just don't want people to even give something a shot. So they watch it first, and they tell you why it's like whatever, like woke garbage or Gen Z whatever or blah blah. They give you all these reasons to not even give something a chance and see it for yourself. And I certainly don't think that that's what we're doing here. But I think that if you want to have any credence as a critic, you've got to be fair, and you've got to be nuanced, and you've got to be okay with saying the bad with the good, for sure. And I think sometimes it can be a little difficult depending on, even like with Stuckman, he's in this whole conundrum where now he's a filmmaker, so he doesn't want to review really bad movies. And it's like, well, then it's okay for you to not review anything, Chris. Like, if, you don't have to do that. Your YouTube channel is very successful. You could just talk about movies that you do love and do video essays instead of reviewing movies. if you don't want it to interfere with your career or like sully the waters that you're in now as a filmmaker yourself. So I get it, especially if you're in the industry, it's tough to talk about those things and not be seen as like you're kind of, you know, shitting in the company water.
Well, I mean, and that's another great point that you bring up, you know, because I know people would say, dude, you're out there, like, you're really being honest about a lot of things on the internet, and your face is out there attached to it and your name, and like, what happens if someone involved in that, you know? And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to disparage this person or their art. I'm just giving my opinion on it. And I'll be the first person to point out every single what I perceive as flaw and shortcoming in my own art, in my performances, in my scores, in anything that I've created. I'm not doing it because I want everyone to see like, oh, look at how fucked up this thing I made is. I'm doing it because I'm being honest. Like after the fact, it's like, well, I probably could have orchestrated that better, or I probably could have been a little more subtle in that one scene, but like, it's too late. I can't do anything about it now. It's out there. And if people go hard on it, you know, I understand, like, I get it, but I think that this kind of discourse is very important because it's what elevates the material. It's what elevates the art. It's what elevates the genre. And honestly, for too long, I've seen too many horror filmmakers just kind of relying on the classic tropes of not communicating, or like misguided communication that gets misinterpreted, no one believing children and teenagers, people making stupid choices in the dark. Like, there are all these tropes that it's like, I get that they're classic tropes, but it's 2025. We don't need to rely on that. Like, you can explain these things in a way that the audience will be like, oh my God, that's clever. And I mean, Scream is an example of that. And that movie's fucking almost 30 years old. Like, I know I've got a hard on for Scream, but like, there's a reason why I have a hard on for Scream, because it was one of the first horror movies that I saw. And I was just like, this movie like explains just about everything. Like, and I don't feel like anything is terribly far-fetched. In some moments, sure, but at that point, the adrenaline's kicking in. Like, when you're sitting in a truck and you can make a bad choice, your adrenaline isn't kicking in at that moment. I'm sorry, you might be coming off of the adrenaline from the gas station, but you can't tell me you're still like, bad choice, McGee. Like,
yeah, the only thing that doesn't make sense to me in the first Scream movie is when Ghostface is like hiding in the trees during the day watching Tatum and Sydney talk. I'm just like, what was this? Who the hell is that? Which is that Stu or Bill? What? Why? What?
And why?
It doesn't make sense with the rest of the franchise. This moment is just odd. If it were a one-off thing, you would never think of it. But yeah, Scream was a great, you know, it takes everything about Halloween that we love and then adds in that revenge whodunit thing that was, you know, that early 80s kind of slasher vibe as well. So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, the whole like, you know, lack of nuance in conversation too, that's just, it's one of those things that's been going on for quite some time. I mean, I remember like talking to friends years ago and, you know, critiquing like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show. And I'm just like, why does she always have to have a love interest? Why does blah, blah, blah? And they're like, why don't you like the show? And I was like, I just told you I love the show. I've just got like, there's just certain things like anything you know, even like I love like the original Halloween's one of my favorite movies, but there are certain things where I'm like, yeah, that's not perfect. You know, like what can you do? Like, it's just like, you gotta just, you know, we can be real about it, like Coy is saying there in the chat, and he's digging your bits of the discussion here. There you go.
And I appreciate that very much. And I think I mean,
it was Roman.
I don't know which
maybe we'll see we'll see a flashback in Scream 7, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and I don't want to like, I don't know how much longer we have, but I do want to point out that I think a lot of the problem in the discourse in general in society, and particularly in regards to art, is that people, like, I don't expect anything to be perfect, There is no such thing as perfect. That's
Yeah.
a fallacy. It's just not
Yeah.
a thing. It's okay to love someone and realize that they're flawed and be able to discuss those flaws and be able to constructively say, look, I love you, but like you got a temper issue and it's affecting me. So like, I think, etc. I can love all the Indiana Jones movies and yet say, the one thing that's stupid in this scene is this. And, you know, I get it, but they could have done better, but I still love it. You know, like, don't be so, I would encourage people, don't be so expectant. It's like this, it's a cultural mindset, winning and perfection. And like, it doesn't exist. Like no one wins all the time. We fail, we fall. There's no perfection, and all of that is okay because that's what builds us to be better. That's what builds our art to be better. And
everything
that's why
becomes,
this is important.
Yeah, everything becomes like cultish in a weird way. It's like everything becomes, every issue and every piece of art comes down to like tribalism in some odd fashion. And you know, that idea of like, well, this is very successful and good for horror, so let's not say anything bad about it. I'm like, no, I think that people take that to the highest levels of power in this world, where it's like, well, we want this person to be in power, so we can't ever be real about, you know, what they're actually doing, or you know, it affects all these things in our life. So when we try to make someone feel like, oh no, you can't be critical because it's not good for the team, like, to me, that's just like mind control, manipulation, censorship, whatever you want to call it, you know, conformatism. And I'm just too punk rock for that, Lito. I'm just gonna say what I want to say.
Yeah, I respect that.
Like, I think that I think if people were sort of like didn't fall in line as much, then we would probably have then maybe we'd have a happier population, you know, overall. But it is, it can get dicey. And, you know, with something like weapons, I think the cool thing about it is this. I am super pumped that it's making a shitload of money. I think Hollywood needs fixing in a big way. I'm actually preparing a pre-recorded series on the things that I would do to fix Hollywood. And it's outsider. Like, I don't have, my brother works in the industry. He's a 3D, you know, map painter. He works in Unreal Engine and all that stuff. He does a whole bunch of great work. So it's always interesting to have conversations with him because he's got that insight. But it's going to be an outsider's perspective on how you know, Hollywood can start making money even on the big IPs and everything like that. But I think, you know, stuff like Sinners and Weapons, just those two movies this year shows that it's possible to have original ideas that make a lot of money, and it's very encouraging. And I hope that Zach Cregger has an awesome career and just keeps on getting better. Like, but I'll tell you this, Zach, if you're watching, just make your Resident Evil movie Resident Evil 4. Just make it Resident Evil 4. The story's already written. It's arguably the greatest video game of all time. It would make a fantastic movie. We already have like 6 movies in the Resident Evil franchise that have nothing really to do with the games. So do something different and actually make a movie that's based on one of the games. That's what I want to see from Zach Cregger next. But yeah. What do you mean, Davey? Hollywood is perfect. I can't believe Fantastic Four and Superman aren't gonna really make money, like in the theater. They maybe will make their money on VOD and steelbook sales and all that stuff, but I can't believe that they're struggling in the theater. It blows my mind. I don't think either movie was like incredibly amazing, but I thought they were both so solid and should have made money. But maybe. And maybe every movie doesn't need to cost over $300 million before marketing. Maybe, or, you know, I don't know how, dude, Avengers, that Doomsday might just be the death blow for Marvel, because they're going to have to make like $2 billion on that motherfucker, you know?
Well, I mean, I think my prediction would be that based on the amount of cast members and based on the amount of like, this character's in it and this character's and I think it'll make a shit ton just based on curiosity and fanaticism alone. And
Yeah.
real quick, I just want to make sure I also go back and say, I don't expect perfection, and people might be like, wait a second, then why are you tearing this movie apart? Because there are just too many, like I said, there's too many things I can pick at that just, to me, don't add up. And it's not tearing it apart to say it's a bad film. It's just pointing out the things that I had a big issue with that didn't stick the landing. I cannot make that clear enough times, because I just don't want people thinking he's a hater. And it's like, no, I'm really not. Like, I'm so happy it's up to 155 million worldwide, and that's fucking amazing, and that's great for horror. So
I think it's very encouraging, and I think that you know, if you like something, if you love something, like, don't care. There's no reason to care what somebody else really thinks, right? It's not personal unless if you worked on the film, then I get it. Then maybe it is personal. But I think that's another thing too, is people, you know, if others don't feel the way they feel about art, you're like, well, why not? Because I feel this way about it, and you act like it's like something that you're actually a part of. Which usually is only true for the, you know, couple of hundred people or whatever, or whoever worked on the film. But yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, I don't think, I never look for perfection, and I just try to be, you know, fair about everything. And like, you know, Jamie says here, I rarely have anything bad to say about most movies, but when I do, I usually have a lot of intolerant hate for it. So I understand that. She does not like It Follows or Skinamarink. And then there's, you know, like even something like Jurassic World Rebirth, I was like, I know exactly what this is going into it. I know exactly what they're shooting for. For that type of movie, I gave it a 4 out of 5. For that type of movie, I'm not comparing it to all movies, but it's like it had its aim, and I think it made its aim, and it's not my type of movie, but I think for what it was, it did a good job. Ben Grimm says, oh, go ahead.
No, please.
If Robert Downey Jr. cost $100 million alone, and then I think the Russo brothers are getting like $40 million each for Doomsday. So that's then think about all those other, even if Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are there for a day, they're not making less than $1 million each. So that movie is going to cost like $750 million before marketing, I'm guessing. Yikes. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It will be interesting.
I feel the same way, by the way, that you do about Superman and Fantastic Four. I went and saw those movies by myself while my wife was out of town. And again, I will admit I'm an easy mark when it comes to superhero films. I enjoy a lot of superhero films. I'm a Marvel guy. I'm a big fan of Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. So like, I go into these movies just kind of optimistic, and sometimes feeling let down. Ant-Man 3, but those movies, to me, they both were so damn entertaining, and they were so different from what we got previously, especially the last incarnations of those characters. And tonally, they were just so fun. Like, I thought they were such great, fun family movies that I was also just like, where are the families? Like, what's going on? Maybe it's just the cost of going to the movies these days. Maybe it's the economy. I don't know.
Yeah. Movies are really expensive. It's I've got that A-list, and that's what I live by. But if you had a whole family and you were paying that much a month for movies, it wouldn't really make any sense. And I think you're dead on. Yeah, the movies those two movies are really fresh in those franchises. And I was surprised. What kind of cracked me up is with how bad the marketing was for Fantastic Four. I was like, man, this movie was way better than the marketing. Like they kind of fire that marketing team. Like whoever did that marketing, they did not know what to. They kept on sharing more and more of the movie, and none of it really hit. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, wow, that was like, I actually really enjoyed that quite a bit. So there's I think, it sounds like, at least with Warner Brothers, they're waking up a little bit. I saw a news story the other day where they are going to be investing more into original IPs moving forward. And I think that's because of movies like Sinners. And then, seeing something like Weapons come out has got to be like, oh man, yeah, we don't need to rely on these tentpole, you know, films as much as maybe we thought. So, you know, and again, I guess it just goes to show too that horror is always there to bail Hollywood out, even though Hollywood never wants to give it as much credit as maybe it deserves.
Yeah.
So it's time for more Oscar nominations for horror films, not just Demi Moore in The Substance, not just established people. Although I do think that, you know, Hugh Grant could have been nominated for Heretic because he was pretty amazing in that movie. That was a pretty wild turn. But yeah, I mean, you know, as far as weapons goes, I think we're on the same page here. Enjoyed the movie. It's got its flaws. Neither one of us, you know, really fell head over heels for it. But you know, it's that's just how it's going to be sometimes. I really wanted to love, same thing with Bring Her Back. I really thought I was going to, you know, totally love that movie. And so I think it's just another thing too about, you know, not just sticking with your expectations. People want to love something, so they just say they love it. People want to hate something, so they say they hate it. Let the piece speak for itself. And you know, I think like something that you kind of touched on earlier is like, you know, these movies, a smarter audience, I think, is gonna beget smarter art. So I think sometimes like a movie that, you know, just sort of challenges us a little bit, I think can be a good thing as well, moving forward. But speaking of moving forward, what else are there any other horror films coming out for the remainder of 2025 that you have got your sights set on that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, well, we just actually bought tickets to see the new Conjuring, which opens the same day that Halloween Horror Nights launches in Hollywood. So they always do this. It's like the studios know Halloween Horror Nights starts on this Thursday. Put out a big horror film that Thursday. So we're going to do that at the IMAX Universal and then head straight down the walk into Halloween Horror Nights. There's another film that we saw a trailer for that was attached to, well, maybe not attached, but we saw it when we were watching before Weapons. I wish I could remember what the fuck the trailer was for, but I remember seeing it and we both looked at each other and we were like, that looks like it could be good. And it was horror. I don't know if anybody knows what's coming, because I will admit I've been really bad about keeping up.
Yeah, so Shelby Oaks is hitting like October 3rd. That's the Chris Stuckman movie.
That looks at least interesting to me. And I watched your discussion with some other guys about the Stuckman guy, and like, so I'm like, this looks like it could be at least intriguing, you know?
Yeah, it is amazing that he crowdfunded, and then once Neon and Mike Flanagan came in, they basically doubled their budget and said, go actually shoot what you wanted to have in this movie. And so I'm looking forward to I will check that one out since I have the A-list. I'm rooting for Chris, even though I don't subscribe to his channel anymore. But I am rooting for everybody on that one. I think it's great for other content creators that want to like take that leap. So but then there's also, I mean, the obvious one is the Black Phone 2, mid-October.
That's what it was. Sorry.
Okay.
And I should have remembered it, because we were watching the trailer, and at the beginning they keep showing a phone and you're hearing the phone ring, and I kind of like, I was sitting next to her and I kept looking at her like this because I'd seen the trailer and I was like waiting to see how she'd react, because we both were really creeped out by the first film. And she was like, wait a second, didn't he die? And I said, yeah, but they're kind of pulling the Freddy Krueger thing here, which like makes me even more angry that New Line hasn't gotten their shit together and made a new Nightmare film, because now it's going to be like, oh, they're riding on the coattails of Black Phone 2. But I love what they did with the concept. I was like, this is fucking brilliant, because I enjoy these sorts of concepts, like something or someone coming back for revenge because they feel they've been wronged, even though they're in the wrong to begin with. And it becoming this sort of thing where it's like, I don't know how to defend myself. I don't know when I'm safe. I don't know where I'm safe. So I'm looking forward to that one very much. And I think Ethan Hawke in the first film was like, stand up and do the Orson Welles clap. I was just like, bro, like
he's great in horror. I think he's one of those, you know, it's so awesome to see somebody that has found so much success in the industry overall sort of settle into a horror niche in this part of his career. It's really, really cool. Yeah, and it's great with Black Phone because it always had a supernatural edge, even in the first movie. But they're changing, they're turning how they use that supernatural edge. So I love when a sequel just does something different. So it you know, yes, we're going to get those characters back, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a rehash of the first film, which I think is a positive. There's also Keeper from Osgood Perkins that is going to hit in November. And if you've not seen that trailer, it's really good. I'll take all the Osgood Perkins you got. I just love the way he tells stories. The visual storytelling is amazing. And he's got a Hitchcockian thing.
I think we have seen that trailer, if I'm not mistaken, because I just really quick looked up the concept of it, the secluded, anniversary in a cabin. And I've seen that one. And yes, I will see that one.
Yeah, and then what else do we got? We've got Good Boy. It's coming out October 3rd as well. That's like the supernatural haunted house from like the dog is like the hero. Like the dog is seeing. Have you seen that trailer? That's an interesting one. Yeah. Like I'm just on the concept alone, I'm intrigued by that. And then of course Silent Night, Deadly Night remake with Rowan Campbell. Very much looking forward to that one as well.
Yes, that's an interesting thing because if I'm not mistaken, one of the producers on that film is Anthony Mackie, and he was the producer on the Halloween 2 commercial that I played Michael in, and I scored.
Oh, nice.
So I was hearing just little bits and pieces about that like years ago, like leading up to like financing. And I mean, nothing secret. He wasn't divulging confidential things or anything, but I knew it was coming, and I was just like, whoa, like that's going to be huge because that's such a like cult classic, and people my age love that film, the original, and the sequels are, people have mixed feelings, but it's one of those movies that people's hearts are attached to. And Rowan is a great actor, so I think it's going to be a very interesting movie at the very least to see what it turns out to be.
Yeah, I think it's a great cast to play Billy in that movie. I think regardless of how anyone feels about Halloween Ends, the performance is there. So like, say what you want about the story, that's totally fair. But I think the performances, him and Andy Matichak, I think she puts in her best performance out of the whole trilogy in that one, and he's great. So yeah. Looking forward to that one for sure. Do you have anything coming up here in in your illustrious Hollywood career that you want to share with anyone before we wrap things up?
I wouldn't say anything imminent except for the film that I just scored, the short film about Joan Crawford, is touring the festival circuit. So if you happen to see it listed on a short film festival or any kind of film festival, Crawford, go check that out maybe, or if you see it online or whatever. And there are 2 other projects that are coming down the pipeline for me in terms of composing. One is the next stop motion film by Michael Granberry, the amazing guy that did Labette. And then there's another animated short that I can't really talk about, but it involves let's just say certain iconic legendary horror characters that people might know, and it's got a comedic twist on it. And then there are 2 acting roles in the pipeline from the director and writer of All Through the House. He has a slasher universe that he's created that he has actually had in the works many years, actually before even the like kind of Winnie the Pooh, Bambi slasher universe that they've created.
Gotcha.
So he's been writing different scripts for all these films, and they're just really working hard on financing. And whenever they greenlight those, I'll be involved in those.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. That's, it's really like to be able to be involved on so many levels has got to be so satisfying. And to be able to say that you, not only have you been memed as Michael Myers, but you've officially played Michael Myers is a pretty awesome feather to put in your cap. And I want to let the audience know I dropped the link to litovelasco.com which is the place where you can find everything you want to as far as what Lito has going on. You can watch Lebet there, which you said is in consideration for an Oscar nom. Is that right?
Well, we submitted.
Or it's eligible.
It's eligible, and we submitted,
okay.
and they acknowledged that they received our stuff. So.
And it won the Annecy Festival Jury Award and Vimeo staff pick. So it's an award-winning short. You can watch it right there on Lito's site. It's the very first thing you're going to see. And then I would imagine, Lito, as you drop more, as more information comes out about your, subsequent projects, you'll be dropping it there as well. So make sure you keep on up with Lito. If you have any questions for him, or if you just want to reach out and, just get a conversation going with him, you can reach out to him through that site. Also, if you want to check out All Through the House, I know we're a few months away from Christmas, but the cool thing is, if you're an avid, rabid horror fan, you can watch it now, and then you can watch it during Christmas. I see that it is available on Tubi. Do you know if it's available anywhere else for folks out there, Lito, as far as streaming platforms go?
Well, I mean, it's available on all the major platforms like Apple TV and Amazon. You might have to pay for it. Sometimes it's available for free on those platforms. Sometimes it's not. I'm not sure, but I know it's readily available on all the major streamers. And I want to also add, I don't want to forget, I'm very grateful to you for, the opportunity to discuss this film and to kind of just hang out with you. And also,
for sure,
very grateful for you for, the inspiration to get me back going to my reaction videos. It's in a way, even though it's modified, and just for being you, because it's not often that you meet people that have contrasting opinions on the internet that are so civil and are so decent and respectful and polite. And it's one of the reasons that I was so I got to get out of this for a while, because it just pissed me off so bad that people were saying such horrifying things about not just her, but me. They're like, oh, he must be I can't remember, a cuck, or, just all these things like, oh, he's crying in Star Wars. He's got to be a cuck because look at her and look at him. And it's just like, bro, don't make me come out there. So
said from people who've never even touched a woman, probably.
Yeah. So I'm just very grateful to you for the friendship and the opportunity. And man, you're awesome.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're way too kind. Wasn't expecting that. Really appreciate you. Yeah, I think it's so easy to be nasty on the internet because, what are people really going to do? But at the same time too, I'm just why put the energy into that? I've always, I'm very passionate, and clearly sometimes my passion comes across. I think for some people it does come across that I'm saying that you're wrong if you don't feel the way I feel, because I can get so amped up about all this kind of stuff. But it is great to have the opportunity to be, here on YouTube and to be able to have those nuanced conversations. And it's a two-way street. So I could be as civil as I want, but if the other person doesn't want to be, then it ain't going to jive. So yeah, I appreciate it as well. Because I think that's especially when it comes to the stuff that is relatively inconsequential, right? It's there are really big things that people get into arguments over, and maybe it's tough to be friends with that person if you can't speak civilly about a social issue or a political issue or something like that. But if you disagree about art, it's that's really not that. We should really be able to disagree about how we feel about art. That should be the easy stuff to disagree about. But we do live in a day and age where it's if you don't agree with me 95% of the time, I can't have you in my life. It's one of these, everyone walks around like a dictator or something like that. And it's just sort of oh, come on, guys. We got to be better than the people in power, don't we? I think we can be better. Yeah, for sure. And
you also, I mean, real quick, you also just kind of hit another nail on the head. It's just so unnecessary. I'm passionate about movies, and I love Star Wars, and I love Marvel, and I love Friday the 13th and Halloween and Indiana Jones and all these things. But why are you taking so much time out of your lives to make sure that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny fails because it's got a female as the co-lead? Well, all the other films did too. What's your fucking problem?
I mean, especially the first movie.
Yeah, so it's like
I mean,
there's a lot of things that people do that it's just like, do you know how much time you're wasting on leaving these horrifying comments and making these videos? And like, you could be like lifting weights or baking or making good food or having coffee with some, like, just stop it.
Or creating your own idea. I think that's another thing too, is like the doom tubers. Some of them I'm just like, I get it. You guys are so successful. You're making your money off your channel and everything like that. But like, go out and try to do it yourself. So let's see what you got. Like, let's see how easy it is, like, for you to make something and to actually be creative instead of like destructive. Even some of the, like, you know, with Alien Earth, which I'm all caught up on Alien Earth, and I'm like, man, the people that like are talking shit about this, I'm kind of blown away. Like, it's like, for how bad we've had it in this franchise, this show is like probably one of the better things I've seen in the franchise. So I'm just like, I think my biggest gripe is I don't like pop song needle drops in something like Alien. It doesn't jive with the franchise for me. It makes it feel like it's just a little too popcorny for me, but whatever. It just cracks me up. Like I said earlier, it's like some people, they don't even want people to give these things a chance. I think like Thunderbolts got a little bit of that too. Like, oh, you see women in it and you're just, people are going to talk shit. And I think Thunderbolts is like one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, and like got me emotionally in a really hard way, and was kind of covered all the different sort of you know, mental health issues that anyone could go through at any point in their lives, whether it's manic depression that's been with you since you're a child, or it's just occupational depression, or whatever the hell it is. I felt like it was all very well handled in that movie, but it didn't, there was still humor and there was still action, and nothing detracted from the other thing. And that, like, that is such a fine line to walk. And I thought Thunderbolts did it beautifully. So,
and it wasn't pandering. And again, what you said, I mean, like, most artists have a sort of manic depressive tendency. It's a proven thing. Like, science has proven this, that a lot of art, they call it being touched by fire. And as someone who's struggled with that to a degree and just lost his father last October, that movie, it was just like someone, like E.T. sticking his finger in my heart. I was just like, whoa, like, it's like you just touched every corner, and like, amazing that they did it that way. And it just made me kind of sad that people didn't respond to it more. But
yeah, I saw it in the theater 3 times. I'm like, I would buy that movie, and I don't buy very many movies, but it is, yeah, it is. I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this movie's trying to make me cry. Some of the stuff that Bob says, I've been saying those things to myself since I was like 12 or 13 years old. And so it was just like crazy to hear a couple of those lines that he said where I'm like, oh, I've never seen this in a movie before. I've never, especially not a blockbuster type movie, or a big budget movie, I should say. A couple things here before we head out. Coy says Peter Pan, Alien, Neverland is mid. I disagree. Although the end of the 3rd episode, I was like, oh man, we are getting heavy into the drama. The first 2 episodes were really, really interesting, and we'll see. I think it's better than mid. I think most of the franchise is mid, though, for sure. After the first 2 movies, Prometheus, I like Prometheus. And yeah, one thing we didn't talk about here, Aaron says the ending to Weapons almost had me standing up, cheering, hooping, and hollering. I meant to bring it up because it reminded me so much of the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, when he's running through all the houses in the neighborhood to get home. No,
don't get up.
Ooh, smells good. And like, you know, right? Yeah. Like, that is exactly what it reminded me of. I'm like, oh my God. So that was I know we're way off the Weapons chat and we're coming back to it, but that was one of those moments where it's like, oh wow, like the last 2 minutes or 5 minutes of this movie is something completely, and now for something completely different. You know, it was like, it just completely transformed. I'm like, that Ferris Bueller moment, I'm like, I can't be the only one who thought of that, because that's exactly what I thought of in the theater.
No, you're not, but I'll add, it did have me saying under my breath, but loud enough so that my wife Jen could hear it. I was saying, get that fucking bitch. Get that bitch and tear it to fucking pieces. I was just like muttering it under my breath. I was just like, just take that bitch apart. Like, just fucking eat her. So it was very emotionally satisfying on that level. Even though I kept thinking, these kids are going to be so traumatized when they snap out of it and they see this puddle of goo and they're like, oh my God, my hands. Like,
Well, and it's, you know, another thing I forgot to bring up, and I've mentioned it a little bit before on other streams, just when weapons has come up. I think I'm kind of at the point where I think third acts, specifically in horror, don't need to be close to a third of the film. I almost feel like the third act of a horror movie needs to be like closer to 20 minutes, you know, like 20% of the movie. Like, get to that spot. Once you do your reveal and revelation, let's kind of sprint to the end. Let's rip that Band-Aid off and let's go for it. Like, I think like Longlegs sort of, you know, you don't even really like, of course you're anticipating that the end is coming, but Longlegs is only an hour, 40 minutes with credits. So when she shows up to the house at the end, you think that maybe you've got another 15, 20 minutes and it's more like 10, and then boom, you're out of it. And so that, I think, and that, again, guys, that's just a personal taste, you know, of that I hold and maybe some others hold, but I'm just sort of feeling that vibe in horror where it's like, yeah, I want it to mostly be set up and build up of dread. And then let's just close this thing out with a bang, get the hell out of Dodge, you know?
Well, we need to be somewhere between weapons and the classic Universal monsters, where as soon as the castle collapses, the couple embraces, and then you logo, and that's it. They
do race to it. They're just like, goodbye.
Somewhere in between the two, like.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been a blast, man. I am, you know, like I said, you know, we've chatted. What, Lito, you and I have at least been on one of those video calls together with a whole bunch of us misfits, very late at night. You definitely saw me in an altered state. But this has been great, just being able to chat with you and hanging out with everyone in the audience. Yeah, guys, make sure you go over to litovelasco.com and give him some love and, you know, follow his projects there. We are going to make plans for Lito to come back probably sometime within, you know, about a month's time. I would say late September, early October for a Nightmare on Elm Street chat during spooky season, because Lito is a massive fan and has been involved with that franchise and heavily involved from the fandom standpoint as well as a creator. And I am, I've seen those movies so many times. You know, I've seen all of them more than 5 times each, I would say. I'm relatively lukewarm on Freddy, but some of those movies I really love, but I'm really looking forward to the kind of insight that Lito can bring to myself and maybe to some of you guys in the community. If you're, you know, for me, Freddy is number 3 out of the big 3, which I don't think is, you know, anything to shake a stick at. I still think he's, you know, massively important and influential, and I'm looking forward to learning more and maybe gaining a greater appreciation for the Elm Street franchise through Lito's passion. So keep an eye out for that. And otherwise, just to let you guys know what I've got coming up this week on Friday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do a Chucky sequel battle. We're going to have Child's Play 2 versus Bride of Chucky. Mark from Tales from the Shelf is going to be here, as well as Cody Leach. So we're going to break everything down into 8 categories. We're going to discuss both films and which film wins the category for each one of us. But you guys will be involved as well as the chat. You'll be voting and awarding a point to one of the films for each category also. And guys, last time when we did this, it was the Final Chapter versus Jason Lives. It came down to the last category. These are really tight. We're very fair about how we do these things. Just because I prefer a movie more doesn't mean it wins every category. And everyone else is pretty damn impartial as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then you guys know me. I go live all the time. I can't help myself. I mean, even Ben Grimm said, I don't know if you saw that, Lito, but a Halloween video game trailer just dropped out of nowhere. So I might have to cover that live tonight. So it might be a quick live later on tonight, guys, but I might have to jump in there and talk about this, because even though I don't play a lot of modern video games, Michael Myers is my boy. So You know, that's the one for me. That's my crush. Yeah, Lito's like, I gotta go, Davey. I gotta go. But yeah, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for this edition of Late Night with the Davey Before Dark. So awesome having you guys join us in the middle of the day for the folks out here in the States. And of course, for our UK audience, I love being able to do a show at a time that works better for you guys. And thank y'all across the pond for, you know, tuning in on the replays for the regular shows. You guys are awesome. You are a part of this community, even though we're not always in the lives together. And as the community grows, we'll be able to do more of these shows that, you know, that work for everyone's schedule. So yeah, I will be back maybe later tonight talking about a Halloween video game trailer, but at the very least, I will be back on Friday evening, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Lito, again, thank you so much, man. This has been an awesome conversation. I really appreciate your insight. You've made me see aspects of this movie that I didn't recognize the first time watching, and so it's going to make my next viewing experience even more valuable as a result.
I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And go Cubs!
There you go. Go Cubs. Go Yankees. Cubs Yankees World Series. We can root for that. You guys are absolutely amazing. I love you all so much. Thank you to our Patreon members, to our YouTube channel members, our amazing group of Death Squad mods. You guys are absolutely incredible. And yeah, this guy right here, he's been Lito Velasco, and I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care, y'all.